When I passed you in the doorway, well, you took me with a glance. I should have took that last bus home, but I asked you for a dance. Now we go steady to the pictures. I always get chocolate stains on my pants. And my father, he's going crazy. He says I'm living in a trance, but I'm dancing in the moonlight. It's caught me in its spotlight. It's alright, I'm dancing in the moonlight on this long, hot summer night. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm on the streets again. I disobeyed another warning. I should have been in by 10. Now I won't get out till Sunday. I'll have to say I stayed with friends. Oh, it's a habit worth forming if the means justify the ends. I'm dancing in the moonlight. It's caught me in its spotlight. It's alright, I'm dancing in the moonlight on this long, hot summer night. And I'm walking home. The last bus is long gone. But I'm dancing in the moonlight. It's caught me in its spotlight. It's alright, I'm dancing in the moonlight on this long, hot summer night.
Gee golly. Jiminy gee golly. If you look at the timer, that's not as accurate as we think. Now, it's going to be a little complicated. But hang on. Well, welcome Podbeam to the party. I want to explain what's going on. We're not live yet, but this is a little bit complicated. We're streaming on Spanky's Puppets and Comics. That's right. You heard that right. Spanky's Puppets and Comics. All new, brand new, super duper peachy keen season. But before we get started, I just want to say that we're in countdown mode and we will be going live shortly. I want to wish everybody nothing but peace and love, and Spanky's will be going live shortly. How did this happen?
Blew up the chicken man in Philly last night. They blew up his house too. Down on the boardwalk to get ready for a fight. Gonna see what them racket boys can do. Now they're in trouble busing in from out of state, and the DA can't get no relief. Gonna be a rumble on the promenade, and the gambling commission is hanging on by the skin of the seat. Everything dies, baby, that's a fact. Baby, everything that dies someday comes back. Put your makeup on, fix your hair up pretty. Meet me tonight in Atlantic City. Well, I got me a job and I put my money away, but I got the kind of debts there ain't no honest man can pay. So I pulled all of my money from that Central Trust, and I bought us 2 tickets on that Coast City bus. Everything dies, baby, that's a fact. But baby, everything that dies someday comes back. Put your makeup on, fix your hair up pretty. Meet me tonight in Atlantic City. Well, I love me, you died in a main road, but with you forever I'll stay. Some may grow tired and some may get bold, so put your stockings on, 'cause it might get cold. Got me a job out here, but it's hard to find. Well, when there's losers, and I'm south of that thin line, but I'm tired of being down here on that losing end. So I met me a man last night, gonna do a little favor for him. Everything dies, baby, that's a fact. Maybe everything that dies someday comes back. Put your makeup on, fix your your hair up pretty. Meet me in Atlantic City. Put your makeup on, fix your hair up pretty, and meet me tonight in Atlantic City.
Just trying to get by. Sometimes we strive undeterred to walk as one toward our goal. But as peace
From Atlantic City, New Jersey, this is Spanky's Puppets and Comics season premiere, live and unplugged, man. Let me take care of a couple of housekeeping things. This is streaming on the Spanky's Facebook, YouTube page, as well as Spanky's Twitter. We're also streaming under the banner of the Art of Floundering podcast over on Podbean. So let us begin. Episode 1, Season 2. Spanky's Gee golly gosh puppets and comics. Peace and love, everybody. Let me change a little thing. There we go. Well, alright, man. It's a real thrill. I'm going to try to get to Jump Street. This is not our typical live puppet show. Rather, this is an explanation of a couple things. On the offhand chance that anybody ever stumbles upon what we do on these puppet shows, especially what I've just uploaded, which was Bigfoot getting probed by aliens, as well as some new characters, Chad and Karen. I wanted to explain what Spanky's Puppets is, the philosophy. We'll talk about the characters, but I'd like to give a little background. Recently, we've changed the brand, so to speak. We used to go by Spanky's Experimental Puppet and Theater Company. Now we're changing that to Spanky's Puppets and Comics. What do I mean by this? Let me tell you what I mean. 2016, me, Will Dick, the creator of Spanky's Puppets, as well as the host and creator of the Art of Floundering 2 podcast. Anyway, 2016, I was in an accident. I got a pretty bad boo-boo in my back. And after subsequent surgeries that didn't go well, bone infection, late 2020, I found myself at a very weird place in life. I was in horrific amounts of pain, and the type of pain and my injury I couldn't walk without some sort of stroller. But even then, it wasn't very long. I knew that my condition was getting worse from already bad, and it was headed with a collision course of no longer being able to work, no longer being able to take care of myself, and all those things. They started coming at me fast. 2016, in the morning in August, I ran 10 miles. 4 years later, I'm staring poverty, unable to work, crippling pain, unable to take care of myself, and just all alone in a world that's just gonna not be kind. I suppose I was scared, but I always had faith, a crazy faith, that regardless how bad this has gotten, that I would somehow get to the other side. But I also have been realistic. I don't think that's gonna come anytime soon. Spanky's puppets started. And for anybody watching the stream, here is Spanky. Whoops. And he is, quote, blowing grass. And we'll get into all that. But I don't need Spanky going into hyperbolic mode, dude. Not yet. But, Here we go. Let's see how this is. There he is. So Spanky's saying hi. So anyway. So, in 2020, in order to cope with a life that was becoming more and more isolated because of pain and immobility, the lack of human interaction, the lack of laughter, just nothing but bad news, I needed escape, and sure, I was on the pot. And while that's a pretty heavy-duty narcotic, man, I also needed something more. For some weird reason, I thought it would be a puppet show. And over time, around 2021, I started having problems physically holding the puppets. In other words, that was too difficult with my injury. Holding like Spanky and Officer Polar and the whole gang, man, was too physically taxing. Instead, I'm doing, if you're watching a live stream, what you see here is I've animated all the puppets. And I've taught myself a couple things. And I'll get back to that. But now that I've done this, another one of my challenges happens to be sitting in a chair. So, we're also going to incorporate comics. Now, I don't want anybody to ever feel sorry for me or my lot in life. This is what it is. Pity, sympathy do me no good. Reality is cruel. It is for all of us. Any kind of pity just reminds me that my reality is kind of sucky, and others notice that it sucks. I'd rather pretend that everybody thinks everything's peachy keen with me. However, when I was, quote, medically retired in 2021, the language on the retirement paperwork was rather corporate, government. You are physically unable to perform the essential duties, tasks, and functions of your position. Therefore, and I'm thinking, I need to prove to myself, to the world, to others, to karma, that there is no such thing as being incapable of, quote, performing, despite what the paperwork will say. So while Spanky's is crude, very immature, has a cornucopia of so-called adult situations, and has a rather intense love affair with the pot, and could be very off-putting. It's about pushing back and finding ways to express ourselves. And not only that, but perhaps opening up more space for disabled creators, people that are put in a corner and told you can do nothing, and their entire life is like mine, where sitting for 2 hours is victory. I want to show that we can still be edgy. We can still create compelling art. We still have voice. And it gives the brain something to do besides obsess on reality. So that is the genesis of the motivation, some of the hippie values that it evolved to, some of my current state. I'm using it as a coping mechanism to help me detach. Now, the other thing I noticed as I started doing these puppet shows is, with the right story, it would be an excellent showcase for an independent band or independent artist, And so I started thinking that would be pretty cool. Not only, just follow me on this logic, because I want to create something organic. It would be really cool to be able to have, these independent, like, hey man, we really could use something different to market this. Well, why don't you come talk to Spanky's, man? Because Spanky's is nothing but people that society said you cannot perform. And instead, they create these really wicked shows. And maybe there's a way some of these companies might want to brand their stuff. Now, people would say, wait a minute, you're crazy. Your stuff is pornographic. Your stuff is filthy. Look, dude, you eat the elephant one bite at a time. We will gradually get better, and we will find the fine line between, and look, we're going to learn. But I think if anybody looked at the first few puppet shows to where we're capable, they would be super duper impressed. Now, I'd like to touch on a couple of other things, if you don't mind. Why puppets, old man? Because I'm currently 57. why didn't I was doing a podcast that I'm very proud of, or at least I used to be. The name of the podcast is The Art of Floundering. Now, that was my original foray into this stuff. I'm not a public person. I've never wanted to be a streamer or have anything to do with social media. However, my reality being what it is, I thought podcasting would be an interesting thing because, I'm creating a mechanism for people to come talk to me, which is wonderful because I can't get out and do shit and meet people. So anyway, but there's this side of my personality, especially now, that requires inappropriate content. The kind of content where aliens are abducting Bigfoot and using a DNA extraction probe to obtain the appropriate levels of DNA from Bigfoot. For those, I've uploaded it. If you want to see what I'm talking about, please. It's, I even created playlists. I'm going to try to really be organized this time around. But we've got Bigfoot and the Alien Abduction Part 1 and 2, as well as Chad and Karen. I think it's parts 1 through 3, as well as The Return of Knuckles Part 1. And I'm going to go through some of the characters. Just a little background. In case people want to, they see a puppet show and they go, wow, man. Wow, that's Spanky. He's a really good guy. Well, okay, there's Spanky, man. I once had somebody ask me, I watched your puppet show and Spanky was smoking the pot. And I go, yes. And she goes, I was wondering how old Spanky is. Now, none of this content is for anybody under 18. But if anybody's worried, all the puppet characters are over 18. So anyway, back to this, man. So who is Spanky? Well, first off, let's talk about the puppet itself, man, before we get into character. Spanky is, he's like one of these therapy puppets. Now, he's always wearing a hat because the other side of Spanky's face, it's like one side is happy, the other side is angry. And I've showed the angry side. I just don't have that animated because he's never really angry. It doesn't work. It only worked one time. And that was when Spanky got pinched, which is a very, very early thing. But who is Spanky, man? Well, Spanky is this. This is primarily the setting for Spanky's is Atlantic City, New Jersey, with other parts of my travels of this country, of our globe, that are ignored. I like to incorporate, like, what people would say are run down, urban blight, all these, like, ooh, this is the bad neighborhood. Look how shitty that neighborhood is. I like to take those things and put a twist and surround especially in the very early incarnation of Spanky's, is every show, these characters are surrounded by complete decay and chaos, but yet they go on. And that was kind of a point I was trying to make with Spanky. He's a screw up. He's always in trouble. He's always fucking up. He's always saying the wrong thing, but he still kind of hangs in there. He's still got this spirit of he's going to be able to, make it out of the AC, Atlantic City, or whatever, Valley Brook. I use a lot of reference, whatever, town. It's a metaphor for all of us. The things that one day I'm going to get out of this, regardless what you say and anybody else says. That's Spanky's attitude. But if you look, Spanky doesn't have a pot to piss in. His mom left because his dad's a fall down drunk and a degenerate gambler who barely ekes by a living as a cab driver driving a cab up and down the really super duper peachy keen parts of Atlantic City, dude. And gee golly gosh, that's Spanky's environment. Oh, Pops is always like, gee golly, Spanky, I hope we don't get evicted for Christmas like last year. That's Spanky. But yet, he doesn't show any kind of hate towards his mom's not there. There's always it's okay, Pop. You don't see Spanky feel like a victim. But he still fucks up. But he's got these good qualities with being a fuck up. But see, the yin to Spanky's yang would be Officer Polar, dude. Ewins. Use Spank. Gee golly. That's right, welcome. Here's a little sample of Spanky's voice. Jiminy gee golly gosh. What I try to do with Spanky is take a lot of gee whiz, Jiminy golly gosh, that super duper peachy keen, and then juxtapose it, if you will, when situations like, gee golly gosh, that's a super duper peachy keen bong you've got there. Stuff like that, right? And that's Spanky. So Spanky likes to, quote, blow grass. Where did I get that phrase? From a 1970s anti-marijuana movie. See, the other thing that I encourage people, if and when you come to the determination that you believe in what I'm talking about, that people that get told you're physically incapable can be edgy. So you decide to go to that YouTube channel for Spanky's Puppets and Comics and follow it and look at this content and look at what's streaming right now and go, you know what? I think these guys might be on to something. Please, because I'm here to tell you. Right now, I'm giving all yous and youans a history of how we got from here to here. From there to here, yous. It's crazy, it's insane, but I promise you, we are getting better. Please watch our latest. But back to Officer Polar, man. Officer Polar thinks Spanky's a fuck up. Ewins Spank. Ewins is nothing but a degenerate. And alls yous want to do is sit there and smoke that narcotic the pot. Well, Ewins could go straight to Palookaville. Yous potheads. And as for the rest of yous out there, that's right. Officer Polar is old school, dude. He has got no use, no tolerance for anybody who wants to, step out of line. Now, back to the history of Spanky. As I'm exploring these characters, I started because I got lazy. I would just, when it came time to do a puppet show, I would do it over on the Art of Floundering podcast, which basically from that moment on spewed filth and insanity over something, it's just weird. One day I'm having a serious podcast with a serious guest, And then to have two puppets, like, on a, making out and, getting it on. So what we're doing here is we're back to separating it out. The chicanery is going to be confined back on Spanky's like it always has been. Now, just because my physical abilities aren't there to hold puppets doesn't mean I could do the same thing with these digitals and make them move up and down the whole thing. So I'm not worried about any of that. I'm just hoping we can start building some, quote, heat. And, so look, like, subscribe, review, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to back it up, man, because we're going to upload some of the most badass prepared content this side of the fucking Pecos, dude. And if I were yous, I would certainly get with the frickin' program, man, and follow Spanky's. No, let's get back to the hippie stuff, man. So anyway, there's Officer Polar, dude. Now, I want to really do a deep dive into some. I'm going to leave this little representation since I've got characters out here. We'll come back to Spanky, man. But here's another guy, and this guy is an influence. And this is what I mean. This progression, I stopped uploading, interacting, doing things under the Spanky's corporate brand. And quite frankly, I think by just trying to have crazy with so-called intellectual under, I think both suffered. And I need to separate them back out. But one of the series that we started over on exclusively on the Art of Floundering podcast was The Amazing Slacker. Well, hello, Linda. Peace and love to you. Was The Amazing Slacker. And here is The Amazing Slacker. Now, this puppet has performed under a variety of names. Tim Head, Dirk Diggler, Will Dick. For right now, let's just call him Tim Head, which is the alter ego of the Amazing Slacker. But before I get into the Amazing Slacker story arc, allow me to talk about the history of this puppet before we get into the Amazing Slacker. When I was a so-called senior manager, sometimes I would have to have staff meetings with my team. More often than not, during those staff meetings, I was having to ask for everybody to do something that was highly unpleasant and no fun. So, to make these, peace and love, Eric, to make these, just give me like a couple seconds, this will make sense to people who just came in. To make these moments a little more, shall I say, fun, I looked for a puppet that looked like me, and I couldn't find that. And, getting like what they call a portrait puppet was too expensive. So I just got a business puppet, and I bought a shirt and tie that looked identical to him. And I would sit in the staff meeting, I go, hey, everybody, you know what? And then instead of me breaking the bad news, it would be the puppet. And we'd have a little fun. And as I was telling somebody they're going to get really kind of screwed over, I would say, hey, man, you can talk to the puppet. I know this is a difficult time, and and so it was a way to make it a little bit more bearable. So I had this puppet. So who is the Amazing Slacker? Getting back to the Spanky's Puppets premiere that's streaming on the Spanky's YouTube, the Spanky's Facebook, and all of that. Because once again, we're going to clearly, at least on the streaming and the social medias. We are going to separate streams from the pure filth and the puppets to whatever, to our interviews and stuff. Because like I said, somebody wants to come on and tell their story on the Art of Floundering podcast, and we share all this stuff, about their incredibly brave journey. And in addition to that, you can watch Puppet Karen and Chad's, I realized I had something, the Chad and Karen sex tape. And the thing is, I'm always going to be, my sense of humor has been my Achilles heel my entire life. I have never been able to have an appropriate sense of humor. It's always been really childish, hard to understand, and off-putting. So I tried to manage it, but I can't not express myself, and I'm drawn to childish sense of humor and working with puppets. Getting back to the philosophy of Spanky's, puppets allow to say a lot of things through a lot of different characters. Now let's get back. The Amazing Slacker. Who is the Amazing Slacker? Well, the Amazing Slacker used to have this so-called balling life. He was in corporate middle management, man. But one day, if he did the right thing, he could really get to the super-duper top. So he was grinding his way, and he'd do anything for the company. And the company said they'd always have his back. Old Tim Head, a lot of things, lost a lot of things. He forgot his anniversary for the umpteenth time, man. But this time it was important because he had a business trip. And it was so important he was going to be on the Penetron corporate train. But wouldn't you know, the Penetron corporate train had an accident on that really super important business trip he was ordered to go on. And Tim Head was forever impacted by that. Unfortunately, Penetron told Tim, "Gosh, buddy, this accident happened on a Sunday, and that's not your official work day, so our hands are tied. You're on your own to deal with this one." Tim Head went through a lot of different emotions, man. And finally, at this really low point, when he was just like, "Fuck this, man. I can barely function." And he was just angry at the world. He had a vision of Stella, the official at the time, still, the official dog and protector of the hemp of the Art of Floundering podcast. And Stella told Tim Head to just get high and follow the bong smoke. Eventually, Tim Head would learn the power of doing nothing. And when there was problems and trouble, and everybody is like, "We need somebody to step in and rescue us," Tim Head eventually learned how to transform into the Amazing Slacker. And then the Amazing Slacker would show up and do absolutely nothing. And what do you know? Crisis averted. That's the Amazing Slacker series, which unfortunately on this Spanky's YouTube channel and all the other Spanky stuff, it's just been on the Art of Floundering rule. From here on, I'm going to start uploading it, but from here on forward, we got 2 separate streams. Spanky's for the filth, Art of Floundering for the other. Having said that, I'm still going to podcast. In other words, they will when I live stream Spanky's, it will still be under Art of Floundering. But if you want to watch, I always describe it, if you want to support what we're trying to do at both podcasts. But I don't want, like I said, the content for Spanky's, gee whiz, can be off-putting. Like, for example, here's another character that occasionally, in addition to Satan bursts on the scene, Kim Jong-un, man. Hey, everybody. I hope you'll support Spanky's Puppets and Comics, because if you do, you'll see a lot of me. We'll see a lot of people go like, what kind of commie bullshit is this, man? You've got Kim Jong-un smoking the pot. Well, yeah, I do. You know, why are you judging that, dude? I also have Dick Nixon doing it. Look. Well, hello, everybody. This is Dick Nixon. I'm getting wicked high. Well, that's pretty disrespectful. Why? Because George Washington does it. The point I'm trying to make is over on the video side. You'll see the tapestry. And we're getting ready to launch into something which, you know, I hope people watch. I'm going to be serious. I'm going to get out of shtick here for a second. I hope people watch. I really do. Because I think it's getting better and better. And it's done completely as life is telling me that I am it's just, I'm telling you, there are ways to flip the script. And I'm not talking like, gee golly, but I'm talking like you can be punk with this if you want. You can be, you know, I'm not telling like, gee golly gosh, and the prince and the princess and the happy ending stories, man. My puppets are in the street level, dude. Point I'm trying to make is, sorry, Kim Jong-un, is I just wanted to do, I'm going to do a better podcast on this that will be edited. But this will be up there for a while as a live podcast. I just wanted to do the best job that I could to explain what this is. Spanky's Puppets and Comics. I hope that, you know, well, we're getting better. If this appeals to you, man, please do those things, you know. Like, follow, subscribe, and review. It's going to sound nuts. You see, right now, we're going to close with this. Right now, I'm in Colorado. And I've been waiting. I moved to Colorado in June of 2021. And by some miracle, December of 2021, I was told we can help. University of Colorado School of Medicine, their hospital, is going to help me. And they told me that in December 2021. And I remember asking the doctor, when can we do this surgery? He goes, soon. And I'm in a lot of pain. And I'm not trying to make excuse because I can't make excuses. That does me no good. But I want to try to put some things in context. I'm trying to be able to, by the time I was told, we can do surgery. You know, sitting was out. It was out. So a lot of plans I had, I kind of put them for after the surgery, since the surgery was soon. And I'll just go into a holding pattern on a lot of things. Well, this is October of 2022. And we still haven't had that surgery. In fact, it was supposed to happen September 26th, but a week before that surgery, they told me, we got to reschedule your potassium. So they rescheduled it for the 20th of December. I can't focus on that because that was the mistake I made before. Putting hope, having my life revolve around an uncertain outcome. So, while this may not be pretty, This is an attempt to move forward. So we're going to try to do the things I was waiting till the surgery to do with Spanky's. I hope we can get some support because I cannot do any of this alone. I will need a lot of help. A lot of people saying, hey man, I dig it. Or this is what would be cool. This would help me. With that said, this is our Spanky's live stream. Please hit that notification because there will be several updates from here on out. I've got a lot of stuff to in the can, but we've got a system, and I've got a lot of stories I want to tell, and I hope all of you will check them out. With that said, I want to wish each and every one of you nothing but peace and love, man. This is Spanky's Comics and Puppets, Puppets and Comics. Also, the Art of Floundering podcast. It'd be wonderful if you can support both, but some people just want filth, and I understand that. And this is your home, man, because this is nothing but filth. You will get no highbrow nonsense. This is close. From here on out, everything will be insanity, including the live shows. This is me just trying to put some of this as best I can into some sort of context. Because I know it's like, what the hell is this? With that said, from Parts Unknown, Colorado, the Art of Floundering podcast, as well as the rough and tumble streets of Atlantic City, New Jersey. This is Spanky's Puppets and Comics and the Art of Floundering podcast. I want to wish each and every one of you nothing but peace and love. And gee golly gosh, see all of yous and youans soon. Peace and love. Thank you. Bye.